when I had my 7th miscarriage. The doctor told me it would be very difficult to conceive again. Feeling guilty, I suggested divorce to Marcus. He grabbed my hand and said tenderly, "Grace, I married you because I love you, not for children." I entrusted the family business to Marcus, focusing on recovering and preparing my body, hoping to get pregnant one last time. It was during my 8th pregnancy that I overheard Marcus cooing to his adopted sister, Ivy. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let my wife get pregnant. Please don't cry. You became infertile saving me, so no one else should bear my children either." Marcus hugged his adopted sister, Ivy, tightly, as with the previous ones. "You can take care of this 8th child with cold medicine. My wife and I won't raise any more children. You are our child." At this, I felt sick to my stomach and called my friend at the hospital. "The embryos of the previous 7 children are in the medical freezer, right? Please check if a certain cold medicine caused the miscarriages." I hung up the phone and watched through the crack in the door as Ivy, with a blank expression, asked Marcus, "Brother, will Grace treat me like a daughter, just like you do? They say an elder brother is like a father. Will an elder sister-in-law be like a mother too?" Marcus lovingly embraced the frail Ivy. "She will be good to you. If she loves me, she must accept you. She'll treat you like her own sister, her own daughter. You became infertile and developed an intellectual disability because you saved me. If she dares to treat you poorly, I'll expose it to the media, and her company's stock will plummet." Hearing this, I was both angry and amused. Just because Ivy is infertile, does that mean I don't have the right to have children? They said Ivy had an intellectual disability, yet the debit card I gave her had a monthly limit of $150,000, and she spent it all. Could someone with an intellectual disability spend money like that? Hadn't I been acting like a mother to her? Yet, after each of my pregnancies, they made me miscarry. I remembered the DC procedures during each miscarriage, performed without anesthesia. The pain was unbearable, endured only to not affect future pregnancies. Every time I saw the bloody embryo in the tray, I felt endless self-reproach for not being able to protect that tiny life. Marcus would silently hold me and cry with me every time, feeding me nutritional shakes daily. That's why I felt even more guilty, drinking those nutritional shakes I disliked so much, just to get my body healthy enough to bear him another child. Due to taking too much medicine and drinking too many nutritional shakes, I gained weight, reaching 140 pounds. Marcus was intimate with me barely once a year. Each time, I swore that after giving birth, I would immediately lose weight and get back in shape to be worthy of Marcus, who possessed a model-like physique and looks. I was about to push the door open and go in, but then I saw Ivy hugging Marcus. "Brother, Grace's body has become bloated from trying to have your child. You must be having a tough time holding yourself back from her, right? How about Ivy compensates you instead? Ivy loves you and doesn't want you to suffer, nor does she want you to be inconvenienced by touching that fat hag." My hand tightened on the doorknob. I didn't open the door. I watched Marcus inside, returning Ivy's embrace as if it were routine. Marcus gazed at Ivy tenderly. "Ivy, I don't touch Grace not because she got fat after her miscarriages, but because I fell in love with you. As for this 8th child, maybe she can just give birth to it. I'll figure out a way to get the child to you. Then I'll get half of her family's assets for you, so you and your child can be financially secure." My heart ached and went numb as I listened to Marcus's words. Marcus had pursued me for 3 years before I agreed to marry him. To prove he wasn't after my money, he had insisted on a prenuptial agreement. Marcus's personal salary was $50,000 or $60,000 a month, and he spent a maximum of $10,000 a month. It was enough for him to live on, and he wasn't a greedy person. His elaborate scheming against me was also Ivy could be financially secure for the rest of her life. To outsiders, Ivy appeared intellectually disabled, yet her monthly expenses were over $100,000. All of it from the debit card I'd given her out of pity. With salary, he couldn't possibly cover Ivy's expenses. Later, I returned to my home office, called the bank to cancel Ivy's card, and instructed the company's finance department to compile and send me this year's financial report to my email. This past year, for the sake of the 8th child, I had almost entirely handed over the company to Marcus. Now I felt a bit panicked, fearing I might lose my parents' company. After finishing all this, I shut down my computer and walked out of the home office, running directly into Marcus. He glared at me furiously. "How could you cancel Ivy's card when her head is splitting? She needs to go shopping and play outside to distract herself from the pain." I sneered at Marcus. Ivy became infertile, developed headaches, and an intellectual impairment because she saved you. If she needs to be supported, that's your responsibility. Marcus stared at me for a while, then asked, as if suddenly understanding something, were you just in Ivy's room? Did you hear everything I said to her? I didn't speak, looking at him with disappointment and heartbreak, waiting for him to apologize for our 7 children. Having been married for many years, he naturally understood what my gaze meant. He lowered his gaze and said, Grace, this 8th child won't be like that. You can give birth to him. Ivy agrees to you having this 8th child. I gave a bitter smile. Listen to your tone. Ivy allowing me to have a child, is that supposed to be some great blessing? I know everything now. Are neither of you going to apologize for this? Marcus, however, looked at me with disappointment. Grace, when did you become so cold-blooded and heartless? Without an ounce of sympathy? Ivy is an orphan. You have the love and legacy your family has given you, and wealth. Every time Ivy sees you pregnant, she has an episode, her head splitting, and she hits it against the wall. You have everything. For my sake, can't you just give her a break? I couldn't hold back my roar. It's not my fault she's an orphan. I already treated her like an elder sister out of respect for you, and even if she has a diagnosis of intellectual disability, that's not an excuse to absolve yourself for enabling her to harm my children. You disgust me. I will take back all the kindness and love I've shown you both. Ivy suddenly ran out of the room, her face stained with tears, and knelt before me. Sister, did Ivy do something wrong again to make you angry? Don't blame brother. Ivy is just a burden on both of you, needing you to support me. I'll just die. If I die, I won't burden anyone. As spoke, before any of us could react, she climbed over the railing and jumped from the 2nd floor to the 1st. A dull thud echoed. Ivy landed below, on the safety mat specifically prepared for her, because knew Ivy liked to play by the railing on the 2nd floor and worried she might fall someday. The entire 1st floor of our mansion was covered with safety mats, just like those used by fire departments. Marcus watched Ivy lying motionless on the mat, then glared at me as if he wanted to kill me. Grace, are you really trying to force such a pitiful girl to die? Do you have no conscience at all? I watched Marcus rush out like a madman, carrying Ivy. I remembered when I had my miscarriages. He would calmly arrange a car and people to slowly carry me down. He'd never been in such a hurry then. I thought he couldn't lift a person, but it turned out he just didn't want to carry me. Didn't Marcus understand? His entire family had been burdened for over a decade, supporting Ivy, the patient who had once saved his life. They were all exhausted and overwhelmed. I took over, using my money to share their responsibility, finally allowing them to live easier lives. Marcus said I was cold-blooded and heartless. He wasn't wrong. I was a businesswoman, loved money more than anything, and was no generous philanthropist. This was originally a losing venture I would never have engaged in, but I wanted Marcus to have an easier time. So for the first time, I did something so foolish. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my stomach, just like the pain of my previous miscarriages. I quickly called the driver and housekeeper to help me into the car and rushed to the hospital. This child, too, was lost due to recurrent miscarriage. My hospital friend thoroughly investigated the cause of my previous miscarriages. Besides cold medicine strictly forbidden for pregnant women, my placenta also contained hormones. These hormones would lead to deformities even if the child was born, or to recurrent miscarriages in the future, and could even cause obesity. So, it turned out that most of my weight gain was because of this. The doctor said I wouldn't have a 9th chance to conceive. She suggested I have the surgery under anesthesia, so I wouldn't have to suffer. I signed the papers. After the surgery, I slept until the next day, waking up in pain as the anesthesia wore off. Marcus called. Before I could say anything, he rattled off a stream of words. Grace, Ivy said that for this miscarriage, she really didn't put cold medicine in your vitamin bottle. You can continue to give her a 150,000 credit limit every month. I'll send Ivy back to Aunt and Uncle's place. She won't bother us anymore, and we can start trying for a baby in peace. We can finally live a normal life. The moment I answered the call, I had already hit the record button. I then asked Marcus, logically, Ivy has an intellectual impairment, so she shouldn't understand. Swapping cold medicine and hormones into my vitamin bottle would cause recurrent miscarriages and obesity. So, putting similarly sized cold medicine and those hormone pills in my vitamin bottle, you instructed her to do all of that, didn't you? After I spoke, I listened silently, waiting for Marcus's answer. If he said yes, then Marcus had committed a crime. If hadn't done it, then Ivy had. Being capable of such a thing would prove that Ivy was not intellectually disabled at all. She could go to jail. Either one of them would go down, or both. On the other end of the line, Marcus was silent for a moment before he questioned Ivy in a stern voice. You also put hormones in? Too much of that can cause obesity, make it difficult to conceive later, and impair memory. Ivy's wronged. Whimpering voice came through. Brother, don't shout at Ivy so loudly. Ivy and the baby in my belly will be scared. Don't scare our baby. I was stunned for a moment, then asked, Isn't Ivy infertile? Ivy immediately said gleefully, Sister, the doctor said it would get better when I grew up, and Marcus is so amazing. He can even make infertile people pregnant. The doctor even praised me, saying my body is strong. After jumping from such a height, the baby is fine, and I'm fine too. It took me a long time before I bit out, Marcus, do you know I can never get pregnant again? I lost 8 children with you. Are you worthy of me? Marcus was silent for a long time before he spoke. Grace, would it be okay for us to raise Ivy's child? With our resources, raising a child and Ivy would be no problem at all. At that moment, I could no longer hold back. I roared, ignoring my physical pain. Marcus, do you think I would agree to that? When we got married, I told you that if you ever betrayed me, I would absolutely not want you, let alone a child you had with another woman. Are you even listening to me? I said I've lost the ability to conceive, and it was caused by the intellectually disabled girl you champion. Do you feel no heartache at all? Marcus seemed to have moved to a secluded spot with his phone. His roar echoed. Grace, what do you mean? You want to divorce me? Don't even think about it. You are the one who provoked us first. You, an heiress with a vast fortune, flaunted yourself in front of us, showing us what wealth and luxury were. You were set a trap by me, dragged into this by me. Don't you deserve it? You deserve to be tied down by a worthless person like me. I gave a chilling laugh. Marcus was exposed. Wasn't he even pretending anymore? After a long silence, I spoke, my voice laced with sorrow. Marcus, I remember seeing Ivy spend $100,000, your modeling startup capital, on bags. I felt sorry for you and helped you out. Fronting the capital for you. Was that, in your eyes, just me flaunting my wealth? Marcus, who is always gentle and sunny, smiled sinisterly and said, Yes, Grace, you appeared before me like a savior, so don't think you can get rid of me. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. When I hung up, I told my driver and housekeeper to move to another mansion for my recovery. I called my lawyer and asked him to retrieve the car I had given Marcus. Then I had people kick aunt and uncle out of the new house I bought for them and made them stay in a hotel, tossing the debit card Marcus had left with me to his parents. At the same time, all of Marcus and Ivy's belongings were thrown out of our marital mansion. Marcus called me hundreds of times, but I didn't answer. I didn't love him anymore. He was nothing to me. Besides having my lawyer draft the divorce papers, I also split the recording into dozens of files. Marcus wanted to destroy my company and tank its stock by accusing me of mistreating his adopted sister. He underestimated me too much. By the time I finished all this, I had collapsed from exhaustion. I had just undergone surgery and was still in a lot of pain down there. I was about to lie down for a while when my best friend called, telling me that my company and I were on the trending topics and urged me to check. She also said she trusted I wasn't that kind of person. I had a premonition. Marcus was highly intelligent, and Ivy had been pretending to have an intellectual disability for over a decade. How could they not have a backup plan? I laughed, despite my anger, as I looked at the trending topics. Grace, intellectually woman to be. My name is our family brand name, so the topic exploded in popularity. The gist of it was that I had a chaotic private life, found an honest man to be a kept man, and then played around outside. This led to 8 miscarriages and infertility, so I forced my husband's adopted intellectually disabled sister to be a surrogate. I truly felt they must be crazy for money. They really are quite idiotic. First, a child born to my husband and another intellectually disabled girl would have no blood relation to me. Second, could I just rush into their room and teach them how to get pregnant? They actually bought this trending topic. Would netizens believe it? But they had hired many bots and trolls, unleashing outraged condemnation upon me, claiming I bullied an intellectually disabled girl and an honest man. The wealthy elite are just amazing, aren't they? They can just bully an intellectually disabled girl? She's a woman herself, isn't she? Let's see which man dares to marry a rich woman and be repeatedly betrayed, implying infidelity and manipulation 8 times. I'm never buying Grace's brand products again. I didn't really care about the other baseless insults. But this last one, all the public opinion was directed towards it. Marcus knew very well that I cared deeply about our family's brand image. He finally couldn't resist calling me first. I still hit the record button while answering the call. Speak. What do you want? What else do you have up your sleeve? Marcus was silent for a moment. He hadn't expected me to be so calm. He just didn't know that in front of him, I had only ever been a wife, not a businesswoman. Marcus said, a hint of triumph in his voice. Grace, you haven't managed the company for so long. You probably don't even understand its finances. Do you? With such a large company, don't you think there might be unclear financial transactions or tax evasion? I gave a cold laugh. Oh, that? I've already called the relevant authorities. I will cooperate with them in their investigation and follow up. On the other end of the line, Marcus was silent. I smiled softly. I had already asked my finance department to prepare all the relevant documents for me last night, but they still haven't given them to me. So I've already had my lawyer hire someone to investigate all the accounts handled by you and my finance department. You'd better not have done anything. Otherwise, you'll spend the rest of your life in jail. After all, consecutive sentences for multiple crimes wouldn't be light. I hung up the phone after I finished speaking. Marcus would see the trending topics himself. My PR team had already posted the recording I gave my lawyer on the trending topics to clarify. Of course, there were also screenshots of the credit card I'd opened for Ivy all these years, and my personal transfers to Ivy to pay off her credit card debt, 8 years worth. Several pages of them. Netizens would do the math. $150,000 a month for 8 years is nearly $15 million. There were also the car I bought Marcus and the house I bought for aunt and uncle. All of these were purchased in full, in my name. Besides clarifying my name, I also wanted everyone to see that some people marry just to set a trap. They aren't seeking happiness. Even though they hired many bots and trolls, they couldn't outnumber the real internet users. These users unleashed outraged condemnation upon Marcus and Ivy. I'm certain Ivy isn't intellectually disabled. Could someone with an intellectual disability spend $15 million in 8 years? So isn't a wicked wealthy elite after all. Which wicked wealthy elite would spend $15 million in 8 years on a girl supposedly unable to care for herself? Hey, don't just talk about the girl. What about that honest man kept man? Didn't you all call him an honest man? Driving a sports car bought by his wife. His parents living in a mansion worth hundreds of millions in a prime neighborhood in the city. I'd love to be such an honest man. I take back what I said earlier. I'll buy Grace's brand again. This girl was set a trap for and it's too cruel. Seeing public opinion finally turn around was as I expected. I finally put down my phone, deciding to get some proper sleep. Ivy, however, called me. This time, her voice was very clear and coherent. Grace, you've stopped paying my card debt. How am I supposed to pay back that $150,000? I demand you pay it back now. I used to automatically pay Ivy's card on this specific day, and it turned out today was that day. With the recording still on, I said calmly, you made me miscarry 8 times, then seduced my husband, and now you want me to pay your credit card debt? Has pretended to have an intellectual disability for so long that she's actually developed one? Ivy's triumphant voice came through. Then check your phone. I sent you something. I opened the video she sent me. It was of Marcus and my bedroom. The video showed intimate moments between Marcus and me. Marcus had his back to the camera, but I was undressed. Looking at the camera's position, it was inside the ceiling crystal chandelier. Ivy continued. Grace, don't you like to sleep naked at home? I have more. Should I sell them on the dark web to pay off my card debt? You're so rich. Why don't you buy them yourself? Can I still be your intellectually disabled little sister? Please? Hearing her clear voice further proved that Ivy was only pretending to be intellectually disabled. Or rather, she had slowly recovered, as I had been providing her with treatment all along. I said nothing, reported her phone lost, and deactivated it, making it impossible for her to use any electronic devices. Ivy's 2 iPhones and an iPad were all bought with my money and my ID card. Deactivating them was effortless, but would surely use Marcus's phone. So I called Marcus's phone and sent him what she had sent me. Marcus, I'm asking you. Ivy's intelligence is clearly normal. Did you know this from the beginning? Or did you conspire with her to deceive me for 8 years? To my surprise, Marcus questioned me in return. Grace, I've lived with Ivy for so many years. Don't I know whether she would skip junior high just to pretend to have an intellectual disability? Don't blame her for installing that pinhole camera in our room. She hadn't intended to release it. You were too cruel to cancel her card at this time. How is she supposed to pay her card debt? I gave a cold laugh and checked Ivy's debt situation. This month she had spent $190,000. Since trusted Ivy so much, disbelieved my words, and didn't realize how terrifying it was for a normal person to spend so much every month, I decided to make Marcus bear the consequences. I logged into Marcus's debit card account and paid off Ivy's $190,000 debt. Soon received a text message. He asked me, his voice trembling, "Grace, you used my card to pay Ivy's debt? You're really not going to take care of her anymore? If you don't take care of her, with her spending such exorbitant amounts every month, I simply can't manage it." I said indifferently, "Marcus, my lawyer should be at the hospital now. He will give you the divorce papers very soon. Since I have no relationship with you anymore, why should I care about your dear adopted sister, right? Whether is truly pretending to be intellectually disabled or not, it has nothing to do with me." Then, on the other end of the line, I heard my lawyer say, "Mr. Marcus, these are the divorce papers my client wants you to sign." Marcus roared, no longer calm. "Get out! I won't sign." Then he snarled into the phone, "Grace, I'm telling you, I will absolutely not sign the divorce papers. I said you insisted on pulling me in and saving me, so you have to stay with me for life. Didn't you say you loved me most? Besides your parents? We've known each other for 11 years. Can you really let me go?" At this point, I was still in unbearable pain from the recent miscarriage surgery. Recalling those 11 years, Marcus had always been good to me, both during the 3 years he pursued me and the 8 years we were married. When my feet were swollen, he even learned massage techniques to massage them for me. Marcus knew I liked various tonic and sweet soups, and he even took classes to learn how to make them. Indeed, besides my parents, no one had ever dedicated so much time and effort to me. Yet, Marcus still enabled Ivy to cause the deaths of my 8 children. I hadn't realized it before, but Marcus resented and was annoyed that Ivy had become a burden. Yet he also loved that burden himself. I said calmly to Marcus on the phone, "Marcus, I don't love you anymore. What is there to let go of? Sign the divorce papers, or I will treat you the way you treated me. I'll buy a trending topic saying you got an intellectually disabled girl pregnant but refused to take responsibility or marry her. At that point, you will truly lose your job." I hung up the phone, waiting for my lawyer to call me back. About half an hour later, the lawyer called to tell me that Marcus had finally signed. I could finally get some proper sleep. I hadn't been able to sleep well since the surgery. After waking up and feeling a little better, I initially wanted to send these 2 to prison for the deaths of my 8 children, but there was no concrete evidence to prove they had put the cold medicine and hormones that cause miscarriages into my vitamin bottle. Even if the law couldn't severely punish them, I had other ways. I called Marcus's competitor. I told him I would invest in his experiment. The man asked me, surprised, "I'm competing with your husband. This experiment can only be done by one person, and your husband hasn't secured funding yet. I heard he's going to seek investment tonight." I said calmly, "First, I've already divorced Marcus. Also, I know your abilities are on par with his. I used to invest in him, which always ensured he got the first opportunity for projects." I quickly arranged for this competitor to receive investment, and he soon secured the experimental project. If this project succeeded, a monthly salary of $100,000 was possible, but it depended on attracting investors with experimental data. I used to invest all my money in Marcus, and he had never lost me money. But if it's all about making money, does it matter who I choose? Marcus soon got the news and called me, his voice tinged with a deep sense of loss. "Grace, you gave the investment to my competitor? You know, don't you? I've been competing with him for 8 years." I said indifferently, "Yes. So what?" Marcus cried out, heartbroken. "You clearly know I desperately need this investment. Even if you didn't want to give it to me, how could you give it to him? Are you trying to get revenge on me?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Marcus, it's my money. I can invest it in whomever I want. I already told you I would take back all the kindness and love I've shown you in Ivy." Just as I was about to hang up, Marcus hurriedly added, "Call your people away from Ivy. She's pregnant now, and your 6 bodyguards are constantly surrounding her. Whenever she tries to use her phone, your bodyguards take it away or watch her. She's a pregnant woman. You've been pregnant yourself. Do you have any conscience? Do you know how much stress that causes? Hearing him say that, my heart still ached slightly. After all, we had been married for 8 years. I had carried 8 children for him, and each time, I miscarried because of Ivy. Had ever once reprimanded Ivy for the loss of my children? Now, because Ivy was stressed, he came to criticize and shout at me. I took a deep breath, trying my best to calm myself. As long as Ivy hands over the memory card from the pinhole camera installed in my room, my people will naturally return. As long as Ivy doesn't hand over the card, she won't get to use her phone, and my people will follow her every minute of every day. Ivy threatened to sell those videos on the dark web, even if you call the police. My actions are perfectly reasonable and legal. Marcus was silent for a moment, then said, Ivy is wrong about this. I absolutely won't let her do such a thing. Don't worry. I'll coax her to hand over the memory card with those stored items. My eyes narrowed as I heard this. In's eyes. He still believed Ivy had an intellectual disability, or perhaps that she loved him. Well, I would make him see the real Ivy, I said, pretending to offer advice. Wen is unhappy. She shops compulsively online. Why don't you just give her your phone to buy things with? Then I hung up the phone and called my bodyguards, telling them that if Ivy was online shopping, they didn't need to take her phone. About an hour later, my bodyguard called me and said, Boss, Ivy was online shopping the whole time she was on her phone and spent over $100,000 in total. She even sent me a video to show me. I glanced at the video on my phone. They were all high-end brands. Between paying off Ivy's previous card debt, which had already spent $190,000 from Marcus's account, and now this additional sum, Marcus's savings from the past few years must have been wiped out. I wondered if Marcus himself could handle it. Unexpectedly, only a few days later, my bodyguard called me again. Boss, Ivy maxed out Marcus's credit card to buy a $100,000 plus necklace. During an argument, Marcus accidentally pushed her down the stairs. That memory card also fell out of Ivy's intimate clothing. We finally got it and completed the mission. I hadn't expected such an unexpected bonus. I said happily, Good. You've worked hard. In addition to your salaries, each of you will receive an extra $10,000 bonus. The bodyguard captain continued to tell me what happened next. Later, the hospital security guard saw that they weren't married and didn't have a marriage certificate. Ivy was feigning intellectual disability, and someone nearby called the police. I glanced at my phone screen. Aunt was calling me repeatedly. Without a doubt, it was about Marcus. Whenever anything happened before, Aunt and Uncle would call me. I hung up on the bodyguard and answered Aunt's call. As soon as I answered, Aunt cried, Grace, you must save Marcus. He's been taken away. Ivy has lost the baby now, and I heard it's a very serious crime. The surveillance footage shows Marcus pushed Ivy. Hiring a lawyer costs a lot of money. Our monthly retirement income is only $2,000 or $3,000. We haven't saved that much. Marcus's card also had no money. Did he give it all to you when you divorced? He loved you so much. I understood what I was hearing. They were indeed coming to me for money. Seeing that these 2 elderly people still didn't know where all their son's money had gone, I said, Aunt and Uncle, you know my family situation. How could I possibly want your son's salary? I don't need that money. All your son's money was spent on buying Ivy various luxury goods and paying off her credit card debt. If you go now, while Ivy is still in surgery, and sell those things, you might be able to raise a substantial amount for lawyer fees. I'm divorced from your son. I won't get involved in this matter. Without waiting for them to speak, I hung up, knowing these 2 elderly people. They would surely ask for my help finding a lawyer again. I would no longer concern myself with any of their affairs. A little while later, the bodyguard captain, who was still at the hospital, called me. Boss, 2 elderly people suddenly arrived and took away everything Ivy had bought recently. I wasn't listening to these details. I told them to come back. But my bodyguards, inherited from my parents, were very loyal. They knew what I had been through and insisted on staying there, saying they wanted to see Ivy, that wicked person, get her karma. And then they told me everything. When woke up, she saw that all the things she had bought were gone. Even her newly purchased phone had been taken. She had no phone in the hospital, nor any cash. It was the hospital nurses who took pity on her and occasionally brought her a boxed meal. By the 3rd day, because her medical expenses ran out, she had no choice but to be discharged. She finally went to our previous mansion, hitching a ride from a passing car. They said Ivy had an intellectual disability, yet Ivy remembered our mansion's address perfectly. Only, no one lived there anymore, and I had instructed the gatekeepers not to allow Ivy or Marcus's family to enter. Ivy eventually had no choice but to shamelessly borrow the gatekeeper's phone to call me. Sister, I miss you so much. I want to come home, but they won't let me. Please, let me come home, okay? I said directly. Ivy, stop pretending. You know perfectly well whether you have an intellectual disability or not. You used this pretense for years to deceive Marcus's family, and all their money was spent on you. Later, when Marcus and I got married, I gave you over $100,000 to spend every month. I'm asking you, why did you still try to kill my children? Ivy screamed, losing control. I just wouldn't let you have children. Once you had children, you wouldn't want me anymore. I was adopted before, but they had a child of their own and sent me back to the orphanage, saying I had an intellectual disability. So, when Marcus's family adopted me, I deliberately harmed Marcus, then deliberately saved him. Even if it meant serious injury, I had to make sure no one could abandon me again. I said slowly, don't try to gain my sympathy anymore. Your tricks are useless. I already investigated. Your previous family sent you back because you hurt the child they had newly adopted, almost crippled them, which is why they sent you back. You were too greedy. You wanted to monopolize their parental love. Ivy froze for a moment before speaking. If you already knew I was a bad kid, why didn't you just get rid of me sooner? I gave a bitter smile. Back then, I loved Marcus too much. He couldn't bring himself to let you go, and he couldn't handle you on his own, so I had no choice but to endure you with him. But I also felt a little sympathy for you, thinking that familial warmth could change you, which is why I gave you such a high allowance every month. But now I see that bad is simply bad, and evil is evil. It can never be warmed or changed. I won't give you even a single ounce of my effort anymore. When I saw a call come in, I immediately hung up, no longer caring about Ivy's desperate, gut-wrenching apologies on the other end. Her apologies now were clearly just because no one in Marcus's family was taking care of her anymore. The call I answered was from the detention facility. The person on the line said that Marcus causing a scene multiple times, all because he wanted to see me. I sighed and still went to the detention facility to see Marcus. He was no longer the tall, handsome man who looked even better than a movie star. Now, Marcus's face was gaunt, his beard unkempt, his eyes devoid of light, and his entire body had a sickly yellow hue. As soon as Marcus saw me, he said excitedly, "Grace, you're finally here." I looked at him indifferently and asked, "Why did you insist on seeing me?" Marcus lowered his head and spoke only after a long silence. "Grace, it was only after our divorce that I realized, if it weren't for you, Ivy would have tortured me to death a long time ago. I also finally understood that she wasn't intellectually disabled. She was just purely evil. You were so good to her, yet she still took your private photos. She admitted herself that she was afraid you wouldn't give her money in the future. When I went to get that debit card from her, I accidentally pushed her down, and she even claimed I did it on purpose and called the police." I spoke coldly. "Marcus, you must have known all along that Ivy was an evil person, right? How could a good person cause the death of 8 children? You knew full well. Did you think she was crazy? That she wouldn't be held legally responsible for her actions? You indulged her in all of it. Now that I'm putting all the pieces together, this was your trap, wasn't it? You even admitted it yourself. You wanted my parents' company to be yours after I became infertile." Marcus shook his head repeatedly. "No, Grace, it's not like that. I truly love you." But I didn't want to hear him say any more, even though he was now kneeling before me. In my eyes, he was merely begging me to get him out. I stood up and walked straight out. A month later, Marcus was sentenced to 5 years in prison. During that month, Ivy, who had never earned money outside the home, was seen picking up discarded food every day. My bodyguard reported to me that she seemed to be mentally unstable. She often slept in the underpass, screaming and yelling. Every time the police took her in, she would give them my phone number, but I always said I didn't know her. Later, I heard she had starved to death under a bridge. As for me, my life returned to normal. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.